Welcome to Reality Architecture, episode number 5. I'm your host, Cyrus Yang. Today, we're going to talk about something really exciting, okay? I'm amped up today. And you're not going to mind me while I eat these chips, while I host this podcast with this super sensitive microphone, okay? So treat this as a philosophical and spiritual masterclass and ASMR at the same time. Now, if you've watched Reality Architecture episode 2, in that episode, I basically went into my story, a lot of my background about who I am, and kind of why I'm here today. And, sometimes I ask myself this question of why do I choose to reveal so much? Why do I choose to, let the parts of myself be seen that oftentimes maybe it's a better idea for it not to be seen. And that is the topic of today's episode. And it's that I've become the kind of person who's more afraid of being fake than being real, which is kind of the opposite of a majority of people. Because somewhere along the way in our development through, childhood, teenagehood, youth, we learned to put on a mask. We went from this spontaneous expression of our childlike self, unhindered, into this self-blocked version of ourself that has to perform for reality, for the world, for society, for parents, for teachers, for people of the opposite sex. We develop this performance because our entire way through childhood, teenagehood, early adulthood is conditioning that we are not adequate if we allow our true self to come out. A lot of the times that gets punished. And especially if you grew up, around parents every single day when you would let out how you felt about something, whether it was something exciting or it was something that made you really sad or really angry. And you immediately got reprimanded. You immediately got backlash. And so over time, we all learned to repress ourselves, to hold ourselves back, out of the fear that as soon as we reveal ourselves, as soon as we are true to ourselves, as soon as we are real, then that immediately backfires because we're going to be scolded, we're going to be laughed at, we're going to be judged, we're going to be made to feel insignificant. This is the part of me that I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn it because I realized this was the exact same thing keeping me stuck as an NPC. I realized how painful it was to try to live like an NPC, constantly controlling what I say, what I think, who I am. For what? As I've dared to become more and more myself, more and more authentic, more and more just unapologetically me, I realized how deeply of the fact that all that authenticity is, it's deeper than just self-expression, although self-expression can go really, really deep. Authenticity fundamentally is about reality design. The more authentic you can dare to step into within yourself, the more consciously, the more intentionally you can begin to design the reality that you want inside of your own heart. Because to design reality in its totality, in all of its aspects, from your body and fitness, your health, your relationships, your purpose, your career, your work, how you spend your time and energy, your lifestyle. The exact life you want is hidden behind the door of how true are you willing to live to yourself. The life you want is inseparable from how true you live to yourself. How true you live to yourself is another way of saying how true you live up to your own potential. Creatively, physically, relationally, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. But what happens in life? What happens in life is that all of these aspects, we get blocked. We get blocked by NPC conditioning, non-playable character belief systems, limiting beliefs, blocks, self-victimization, self-inadequacy, self-doubt. This is the essential non-playable character energy. It prevents us from stepping into the main character energy. And that is fundamentally what reality design is. That is fundamentally what authenticity is. That is fundamentally what it means to realize your true potential. And so the more and more I become my real self, my true self, the more and more I realize my potential. The more and more I realize my potential, the more and more I fall into a reality that I designed. Life becomes intentional rather than reactive. Things are done out of choice and desire, not out of need, fear, and desperation. Action arises from inspiration, not out of fear. Doing becomes a state of being rather than being becoming a state of doing. Sometimes I wonder if what I talk about is too abstract for people to understand. But maybe this is my problem. Maybe I don't need these kind of people to understand, and I should stop trying for these people to understand, because the message will only reach the kind of people who are ready to understand it, who are vibrating at a certain frequency to be able to receive it. Because they know they're meant for more. They know they're meant to go higher. They know life is so much more than meets the eye. And we know this intuitively, except we've been conditioned by the NPC program to believe that life is just what it is, and there's simply nothing we can do about it, because the world is fucked, the government is fucked, the corporate world is fucked, everything is fucked, pollution is fucked, capitalism is fucked, communism is fucked. Like, what isn't fucked? The way back is to come back home. It's to come back to ourselves. Come home, you see. So often we have to go out in the attempt to come home, but what we're really looking for is to find the place within ourselves. Why do we travel? Why do we seek adventure and danger and risk? We do it because we want to discover, or rather rediscover, the part of ourself that is already within us, to which this potentiality, this limitlessness, this aliveness, this freedom, this love is unlocked and untamed and is allowed to run wild. Except we live in a modern age where so much of our wildest expressions and desires are neutered, are tamed, are castrated. And this is fundamentally what it feels like to live in the matrix. Ignorance is bliss because to wake up is to realize that you are a slave. To realize you're a slave is to realize there's only one thing you can do. There's two things actually. One is you can try to fall back asleep. Or three things actually. One, you can try to fall back asleep, which doesn't work, which might lead you to two, which is you can get really angry at the world and externalize all of your power and blame it on everything outside of you, which gets you nowhere. Number three is to take radical responsibility for your consciousness, for your awareness. Because where you focus your attention is where all of your power is. Why do you think the Mag 7? Why do you think Facebook, Meta, Google, these platforms, why are they the companies that are going to run the world only more and more and more? And if you add on top Tesla, Amazon, la-di-da-di-da. Why? They control your awareness. Social media. What is the entire business model? Your awareness. The more things that have you tied up, that have your awareness tied up in things that you don't even know that you want or that you don't even know that you don't want. Do you see that how that creates the perfect condition for control without knowing? We live in a time where everything is engineered to hijack your awareness. You come to a point where you realize the only true power that you truly have is in your consciousness, is in where you place your focus. And this becomes the basis of manifestation, of law of attraction, of reality creation, because you realize you're in control of your thoughts. Your thoughts are in control of your beliefs. Your beliefs are in control of your physical reality, your physical body, your physical environment, because you create it through where you focus your perception. I'll give you an example for myself, right? All throughout high school, my perception was constantly focused on, God, I'm so fucking chubby. I'm so ugly. I'm so unconfident. I'm anxious, so anxious all the time. I'm so overthinking about everything. I feel so fucking depressed all the time. No girl is ever going to like me. I hate the way I look in the mirror. My cheeks are so chubby. They really were. I'll show some pictures right here. Now, the question is, did my reality create my beliefs, or did my beliefs create my reality? Did the chicken come first, or the egg? This is where a lot of people get tripped up, because quantum thinking, as opposed to linear thinking, requires a completely new state of mind. It requires you to completely uninstall the Newtonian model of physics in your mind that you've been conditioned since childhood of A to B separated by time and space. With the quantum model, quantum physics, A and B exist simultaneously at the same time. So the question of, did the chicken come first or the egg? Both. Did my physical reality create my beliefs? Or did my beliefs create my physical reality? The answer is both. They are a spiraling loop, right? Spinning, reinforcing each other over and over and over again. You have to break that loop. And the way to break that loop right now, that's the secret. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the physical reality to change. You don't have to wait for the person in the mirror to change. You change what you project. You change your beliefs. Because as soon as you break that loop of the chicken and the egg creating each other, of the belief creating the physical reality and the physical reality creating the belief, they're just confirmation loops. They're self-reinforcement loops. When you break that and then you replace it with the belief of, I'm in the best shape of my life. I look fucking amazing. I'm handsome. I'm confident. I'm attractive. I'm magnetic. I'm wealthy. Whatever the positive reality is you want to manifest into your life, start speaking it into your reality. You don't necessarily have to say it out loud, but you speak it through your thoughts and your beliefs. And these are energetic projections, because mind over matter. Soon enough, the physical reality starts to shift slowly, okay? The loop, starts to spin up. At first, it's kind of slow, but you keep reinforcing that loop with your projections. And then physical reality starts to reveal it, reflect it back to you at a deeper level, at a more significant level, at a more obvious level. And then the loop spins faster. And then you reinforce it with deeper projections, with more conviction. And reality reflects it back with more conviction, with more of the quality of what you want. Soon enough, instead of spiraling into hell, you have learned how to spiral into heaven. Now, this process is not dependent on time. It can take you weeks, months, years. Okay? I've been posting onto YouTube for 5 years, and I'm only at 750 subscribers. But do you see how, in one of the previous episodes, I talked about how my own limiting beliefs about how I'm unworthy of being seen and being known? That projection manifested. And it took me a long time, and I'm continuing to build this momentum and build this belief. But it took me a long time to first of all, even go from static, not even moving, to even building the momentum to start going like this. Right? It took me years just to build this momentum. But you see, it's a game of conviction. It's a game of how much do you actually believe? How delusional are you? How far out do you want to go? The more unrealistic you get, the more delusional you get, the faster that momentum builds. Take a look at every great founder of their time, from Steve Jobs to Jeff Bezos to Elon Musk. Complete delusion, utter delusion. No logical reason for it to work out. Why did it work out? Because of delusional belief, delusional conviction that only hardened and hardened and hardened into further delusionality with time. And look where that gets you. Since becoming more and more truthful to being the person I want to be and leading the life I want to be, it gets harder and harder to be fake. It gets harder and harder to be fake because you realize that being fake is what leads you to hell and to unhappiness. Because what you're doing is lying to yourself. With each lie you tell yourself, the lie gets bigger. Over the years, your life becomes an accumulated set of lies. And the more lies that you accumulate into your psyche, the more you start to deem these lies as truth. You can only deem them as truth because to admit to yourself it was all a lie would be to admit to yourself your entire existence was a lie. And if it was a lie, that would mean everything that you worked up for, that you built, was all fake. Now, most people don't want to admit that. Funny enough, I have a friend. I spoke to him the other day. He told me 3 people died at his workplace over this season. One had a heart attack in the office. The other 2 died while working at home. And this whole time, he pretended like this was normal. You know, denial. He joked, "Oh yeah, I didn't think a corporate job would be more dangerous than the trades. Oh yeah, like yeah, I'm not even really that stressed. I'm just like busy all the time, you know?" Really. Are you not stressed, or are you not stressed because the only way to get through is to be in complete self-denial of it to the point where you numb out everything, right? Oh, 2 people died on our team. Looks like we'll have to figure out how to allocate the workload management so their files can be synergized with the rest of the team and we stay in sync with the timeline. But do you see the exact irony that I'm pointing out here? The language you have to develop where your speech becomes lies, where your speech becomes euphemisms. Why? Because the reality you're living in is false, but you have to cover it up. With fancy jargons that make you forget the true meaning behind the words. And that's how you put yourself into a life of lies. The kind that will destroy you inside. Most people are living on a plane of reality that is so shallow, that is so untruthful, because they've never develop the courage to ask themselves who they actually are. To ask themselves why they have to be afraid of the very same things that everybody else around them is. To ask themselves why they have to be in the same shape that everybody around them is. Why do they have to have the same kind of shitty relationships that everybody around them has? Why do they have to lead the kind of life, the shitty, mediocre kind of life that everybody around them lives? That is the hive mind. That is the NPC program. You can either fall in line or you can be killed. You can be rejected. You can have your whole life over if you do not fall in line. It comes back to the question. They've never asked themselves, why do I fear the very same things that everybody around me fears? Why do I have to fear that? Never asked themselves that. Do you need to fear that? So long as you think you need to fear that, then fear it you will. Fall in line you will. Live mediocrely you will. Because what is it? Crabs in a bucket. As soon as you try to escape, the crabs inside try to pull you back down. They make sure you don't get out. You're staying in here with us. You're part of the team. You see? To become authentic, to become truly yourself, is to set your soul free from the bullshit, from the program, from the limitations, from the self-doubt, from the anger, from the jealousy, from the low vibrational field that the mediocre live in. And this is not said out of hatred for those who choose to be mediocre, but honestly, reverence. Because perhaps it takes a deeper level of courage to stay living that way. I know for a matter of fact, I'm not courageous enough to live like that. Because it scares me. It scares me unfathomably deeper than it scares me to be who I am without needing to perform for anybody. Because I struggled with one question my entire life, and it comes down to this. How do I actually have the balls to lead the kind of life that I want to live? I don't care how it looks to other people. How do I want it to look to myself? The deeper and deeper I ask myself that question, the more this answer became clear and clear. I have to live true to myself. Saying it like that is kind of cliche. But there's only so many ways you can say it, right? Wisdom is timeless, except majority of people don't want to listen to wisdom. They want to follow the trend of what's popular right now. They want to be followers rather than leaders, because leaders create trends. Followers follow them. How do you think every religion in the world started? I'm going to leave you off there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. DM me on Instagram if there's something you want to discuss further. Other than that, have a wonderful, wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, night. And I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys.